Welcome to 40 Below Zero, an international podcast about life with invisible illnesses, hosted by two guys living with multiple sclerosis. Coming to you from the Keystone State of Pennsylvania, I'm your co-host Nix, and with me on this ride is Terry, a Londoner who calls Ontario home. We're so happy you're here with us as we continue to try and normalize a life that is anything but. So let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. We're so glad you're back here with us. Terry, you and I are in a fantastic mood this week. Must be the weather is up a little bit. Everyone's in a good mood. We're up to, I think it's 26 degrees down here now.
Okay, cool. That's hot.
Yeah, it's pretty warm.
Nice.
Definitely cooling vest weather. So when I leave this little space here, I got to go put my cooling vest on
Cool.
so I can survive the rest of the day.
Dude, I can't wait to wear mine too.
First of all, let me just start by saying what an amazing video on your story there. You with the bike you shared,
Thanks,
working
man.
out. That was awesome to see that.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, it's cool, man. It's cool. Yeah. Always improving, man. I'm always improving. I did this stand-up frame too. I stood up for 20 minutes. It was cool, man. It was cool. I'm doing it
How'd
every
that feel?
Tuesday and Thursday. So
How'd that feel standing up?
it was cool. So the second time I did it, I didn't do it the right way. I found out that I was supposed to have my knees bent a little bit so that my
Okay.
glutes are working too.
Oh, okay.
So
Makes
the second
sense.
time I made it so that I was standing completely straight up. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm standing straight up. But the thing is, all the pressure goes to the joints when you're standing straight up. And they say you should have your knees bent a bit. I'm like, okay, well, now I know. So, but I've only done 20 minutes. I can't wait to work up to an hour, bro. And then when I do it next time, I'm going to call you, video chat.
Yeah,
And you're
okay.
going to answer. Hey.
Of course I answer. I answer every time you call.
I know, bro.
I'll
Yeah,
be there
man.
supporting. I'll be cheering you on. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, man. I'm getting more comfortable going out too, because I used to have so much anxiety. But I'm going to explain to you what happened. I went to this Legion where they have live band. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
And we went with a few friends, and I had to use the washroom. So I went to the accessible washroom just for me, basically. It was only one. So I went to the washroom and everything was fine. The only problem is it's really hard when it doesn't have the proper bars. Okay.
Oh,
But everything
yeah.
was fine. But dude, I exerted so much energy that when I got back in my chair, everything's finished. I was like, dude, I was so like I was exhausted. And
Sure.
all that went through my mind is I can't do that again. So now I'm thinking, okay, are we gonna leave soon? Or my mind starts racing. And yeah, because I don't want to do that again. I'm too tired. And that's when my anxiety starts. And then I go back and Katrina's like, hey, how did it go? Because she always asks me, how did it go? Right. Because
Right.
I always have a story. So I looked at her, I'm like, yeah, fine. Yeah. And she's like, no, yeah. I'm like, I'm just tired. And she's like, okay. And then the whole time I'm like on my watch. And I didn't want people, because I love her friends are awesome, and I don't want them to look at me. And sometimes I wear my emotions on my sleeve, you know what I mean? Or
Sure.
my face, you just see it. So, and we left shortly, and everything was fine, And then
Right.
when I got home, I had to go to Katrina and say, "Did anyone realize I was gone in my mind?" And she's like, "No, no, you're fine. You're fine." I'm like, "Okay, okay."
Yeah,
So,
that happens a lot where to me also where I spend a lot of time worrying if I don't know, kind of like my MS showing? I don't know how else to put it. Like, does everyone realize that my thinking has slowed down or that my words aren't coming out quite right? Like, am I the only one who's noticing this? Or is everyone like, okay,
I know what you're saying. I go through the
yeah,
same thing, man.
okay, all right.
Sometimes I'm like that, that, and then I'm like, oh, they must think I'm slow or something, which is okay. I'm just
Mine is my fatigue starts when my words slow down, my speech pattern changes dramatically, and and I'm like, so part of me thinks I hope everyone notices, so that way they know that I'm having an issue, because I don't want to say, hey everybody, It's going to be, you got to need to talk a little slower. Give me a second to process.
Yeah.
Um, so even like right now, my thinking is like,
Nah, bro, it doesn't show. It never shows on here. So
right.
we
Well, I
have our
wouldn't worry
guest.
if I was anyway.
You know me, I'm a warrior.
Yeah. Yeah.
Warrior, not war.
Both. You can be both.
I'm both. I'm both.
You can worry and be a warrior.
Okay. Okay.
Both can be true. You just worry about the fight you're in. That's all it is.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna bring in our guest. Okay.
Bathroom story over. We can
Bathroom
move on
story.
now.
Yo, success, success. It wasn't about the bathroom story. It was about the energy and not wanting to do that again.
Sure.
So
I know. I totally get it.
time limit starts. Okay, when are we gonna go? Because I gotta make it home. Okay, I'm gonna bring her in.
Yep. This is a good guest. She has a ton of things she wants to talk about today. Terry, who do we have with us today?
Okay, so Victoria Brezovich. Okay, and I want to say in Canada, most would, and I hate to bring this up because I told you I didn't want to introduce you with this, but most would know her because she was on 2 seasons of the docu-series Push, which is a huge hit in my province. Okay, just so you know.
Oh, really? Oh, good.
Oh yeah, for sure. And she represents the CMT community. And just like MS, I had to figure out, I have MS, obviously, I had to figure out what that was. I didn't know when I got diagnosed what it was. I didn't know what CMT was. So I had to look it up, and so similar to MS. So CMT stands for, I'm sorry, I'm taking your spotlight now.
No,
CMT
do
stands
it.
for Charcot-Marie Tooth Disease.
Yes.
And dude, so similar, like affects the nerves, the coating of the nerves.
Very different in terms of maybe perhaps the exact spot of the nerve that gets affected. I know I don't have one of the more common types. There's hundreds of subtypes of CMT, even from when I got diagnosed, roughly 2009 to now. There's some that are just a genetic sequence because they haven't even identified them yet. But I have type 4C, which is one of the more rare types. Type 1 and type 2 is more generally prominent throughout the world, but mine generally affects the myelin sheath deteriorating on the nerve.
So it's cool because they have subtypes for CMT, where MS, we have 4 categories.
Categories, yeah.
Sometimes it's 5. It depends on who you ask now. But I'm curious with the subtypes for you, does it switch? Like, can you be a C1 and then all of a sudden you're C3? I know that sounds really funny because you can
No,
with MS.
ask away. Not usually, not that I've seen, at least anyways, because most of the time, like I was born with the genetic mutation. I didn't know that I was born with it until I was in my 20s. But I've seen some patients that have like a hybrid of 2 different ones that are mixed. Like I believe my youngest branch member has like a hybrid of 2, but I've never heard of them switching into the other.
So how did this present itself? You said you didn't know until you were in your 20s. So here you are, just bopping along, and then all of a sudden, what happens?
I think looking back, talking to my family, I had a lot of signs that something was wrong, but back then nobody knew. I mean, I'm a first generation Canadian. My whole family was immigrated from Ukraine. So it's like nobody knew anything when they were moving here, right? So
Sure.
when I was little, I think my mom said the first signs I had was it took me a little while to start walking. I think she said about 2 when I started to really get the grasp of walking. I was born with 2 toes that are kind of like switched in a weird spot. So they kind of, yeah, it's kind of I'm sure I could sell pictures of my feet. I've done that yet. But
not quite there yet.
Do I dare? Maybe raise money for CMT awareness, use it for good. Anyways, But yeah, I have a very funny sense of humor. You guys will figure that out.
That's good. It's what you need.
So they always used to have to like tape my toes down when I was a baby to just get them to like stay straight and stuff like that. But I eventually got up and I started walking. As a young girl, I loved Ukrainian dancing. I did that for like a good 10, 12 years. I think I still would have pursued it if I didn't have all the health issues that I did. And as I started to approach 10, 12, I would like roll my ankles a lot and trip over myself. And everyone was like, oh, we're fall down the stairs. Well, she's a klutz. She's tripped, fell, right? That kind of thing. And then as soon as I started to hit my growth spurt before my teenage years, scoliosis developed.
Ooh.
And that was really the first thing that happened. And it hit me rapidly, where I had, I think my first spinal fusion to half of my spine was, I was 12. Then I had the other half fused when I was 14. And then when I was 18, I opted out to have my rib cage on the back right side completely broken and reconstructed because I had quite a hunch that had developed from the scoliosis going out of whack.
Wow.
CMT is genetic?
It mostly is, but I have started to see patients come up with spontaneous mutations.
Now, when you say that, you know, obviously your body attacking it's the myelin sheathing, we can understand that. Like that's pretty much the whole thing for us. Was there a confusion at all ever about MS and CMT? Or did they know right away that it was not MS from jump?
No, my issue wasn't necessarily being confused or misdiagnosed. They first thought it had carpal tunnel because I was working in the heavy industrial sector and recruiting foreign trades. I loved my job. I got to travel with it. Like I met people from all over the world, loved it. And my hands started to go in my early 20s where they thought, oh, maybe because she's got a desk job, she's got weakness in her hands, we're going to go test her for carpal tunnel. And those results came back from the neurologist saying, you've got something going on, but it's way past like those levels.
Okay.
They never checked for MS, but I got bounced from neurologist to neurologist to neurologist trying to figure out what it is. And they were like, we think that you have something called CMT. And like, this is like 2009-ish. But the only tests that were available, panel tests in Canada, were type 1 and type 2. They tested me for type 1 and type 2. That came back negative. So then the genetic counselor at the U of A hospital here, well, this story is going to blow your mind. Not many people know this story. I've only told it to one other podcast interviewer, and it's crazy, but they were like, you kind of are showing symptoms of type 4 because type 4 is early onset scoliosis, late adult onset neuropathy. But that panel was not available in Canada, only available in some parts of the United States and Europe. So I was married at the time, and the genetic counselor at the U of A hospital said, since there is no direct cure for you right now for CMT, really, you would have to pay 10 grand out of pocket for the test. It's not available, or we can ask the Alberta Health Board to fund your test. But she sat on the board at the time, and she had said, I can only really see them approving funding your test under one condition. And I said, what is that? And she was like, well, since there's no direct cure for you, you would want to know if it would affect an offspring because it's genetically mutated gene. I said, yeah. And she said, okay, and I have this in a freaking letter somewhere. I will never get rid of this letter.
So you have the receipt for this.
Yes.
You told me this, so I cannot wait for you to share this on here.
Yeah, because this is what spiraled me to do what I'm doing now. She looked at me and she said, you would have to agree to go through IVF fertility treatment, and in your third trimester, test through amniocentesis to see if the baby had CMT. And if the baby had CMT, you must agree to abort for science.
What?
Wow. I have no words.
Wow. Wow.
Hearing that from a female physician who is sitting on the medical board and the top genetic counselor in Alberta, you violated. And from another woman too, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, you violated my reproductive rights, my human rights, my disability rights. You told me you told me what a life with CMT is worth to you.
Wow.
Yeah, I have goosebumps still, like, talking about it, because
I can't, that is unfathomable. Yeah, I can't even say the word. That is unreal.
I have no words, man.
Seriously, that is, I just,
did you keep your calm when you said no? You said no.
I did say no. I kept my calm in the moment because I was very shocked that somebody
Sure.
would say that to me. And then I walked out of the hospital in tears. And my husband at the time looked at me and he was like, you don't need that test. You are showing that a life with a disability of yours or not you're fine, whether a baby has it or not. So what? But this was very politically charged, because then 5 years later, when our provincial government changed over, boom, we can miraculously fund your test.
Wow. That is shocking to hear. That's the kind of thing you hear about in like the 17 and 1800s. They'd be like, well,
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? That doesn't even,
that's crazy.
wow.
And I thought, if I said no, how many other women maybe said
I was going to ask you that too. How many other people did they approach? How rare is it? Like, there must have been other women that had CMT.
Well, it typically statistically affects 1 in 2,500. I think there's more than that now.
Yeah.
But how many other women did say yes because they just wanted to know what they're going through? Like,
yeah. And
wow. First of all, going through IVF is not a cakewalk. Like, that is intense, and it takes a toll, and it's like financially and physically, and then there's no guarantees like that. And then to go through all that, knowing that the end goal is a termination, possibly.
And fully developed in third trimester.
That's what I mean. Like,
right? So
wow.
I'm carrying a baby for science.
Right.
Like, am I an experiment? Like, yeah, I know.
So
wow.
I just got to ask, when they told you might have CMT, did you even know what it was when they said CMT, or did they say the whole word?
They said the whole word, but they called it hereditary sensory polyneuropathy. So, but they like shortened it into CMT. But it took me a while to really like understand it, because there was no community like built at all here anywhere. So I did feel like in season 1, I said, like, I was on a deserted island, just like plopped right there. You figure it out on your own. And I was already going through fertility treatment at the time with my husband. We were already trying to have kids for a while. And then to be told that, I was like, no.
Yeah. That's so wild.
So as Nick said earlier, that were you ever confused if it was MS, or did you even know what MS was at the time? Also, just curious. Because when I got diagnosed, I had no idea what MS was.
No, my experience navigating like with disability was, I have 2 sisters who are older that are hearing impaired. So I navigated through life with that, but I went from like not knowing what was going on, having pain in my body, weakness starting, and I had no clue what was going on with me. No, none at all.
Can
Can I
imagine
just
how
let
frustrating
everyone
that was.
can I let everyone know what CMT is? I have it written down here so I don't muck it up.
I
So
want you to. I want to hear you.
no, I have it written down. It's whatever. It's CMT stands for Charcot-Marie Tooth disease, a group of inherited disorders that affect the nerves in the legs, arms, and other parts of the body. Believe me, a lot of MSers are going to be like, "Oh my God, it sounds like MS." It can cause muscle weakness, wasting, and sensory loss, often leading to difficulties with walking, balance, and fine motor skills. Think of it like a genetic condition that affects the wiring of the nerves, making it harder for signals to get through and impacting movement and sensation. When I got this, I looked at my other half. I looked at Katrina and I said, and she looked at me and goes, "You don't have CMT." I'm like,
Oh,
and I'm like, but she's like, "You don't." I'm like, okay. Because it sounds so similar. I'm
It
like, how
does.
do I know I wasn't misdiagnosed? But obviously, it's different. But
but I think at the end of the day, we all three of us, deal with the same stuff daily and symptomatically.
Speaking of that, um, would you mind sharing how your CMT impacts your daily life? Because MSers know, how they deal with it, but how do you deal
Yeah,
with it? How does it impact you?
I know. I can tell you, it goes like for me. I have moments in my life where I have valleys and I have peaks. Um, Now it's very interesting for me now because I'm 42 and I'm entering perimenopause. That is a whole other beast with that at the
Yes.
same time. And I've talked to women in the community and they're like, because at first I thought my CMT symptoms were actually getting worse and progressing. And then when I figured out I was going into perimenopause, and I made the changes with my physicians and teams to my life, my symptoms improved. And I was like, huh. So I was having, and I still do sometimes, I have like leg pain at night in my sleep. I'm sure you guys
Mm-hmm.
do to an extent too, like cramping in the legs. I sometimes have fatigue more. Weather affects me drastically. I don't know why I live in Canada. I'm still determined one day that I'm going to do like 6 months somewhere, 6 months here. But
There you
the
go.
winter months are brutal on my body.
okay.
I get like the pain, the nerve tangling. Right now, they're looking into stuff that might be going on with my C spine because I was really aggressively pursuing wheelchair rugby. And I
Okay.
was doing so good at training it. And I was like, I think last winter I got to the point where I was dragging a wheelchair behind me with somebody like sitting and holding onto it. It was a great
Nice.
workout for me. I got so much stronger without the risk of falling, right?
Okay.
Because I'm in a chair, but I'm not a wheelchair user at all. I have like 3 cruiser style scooters and my walker and my FOs, and I manage with that. But now they're looking into maybe some pinching or something going on in my C spine, which is causing issues going down the arm. If it's not some pinching, then it could be some CMT progressing that way. So it seems like every day it's a little bit different. It depends on my stress levels. It depends on the weather. Depends what I've got to do that day. But I try and just keep my life as like stress free and regular routine as possible. And I just try and absorb and do stuff that I just love to do because if I'm happy and I'm doing what I love to do, I feel better.
Yeah. And it's got to be frustrating because, even with them looking into the possible C spine stuff, it's not like your spine hasn't been an issue before in your life. There's been like a ton of stuff in your history that you have to like, get through the weeds. That's got to be super frustrating.
And brain surgery.
And brain surgery and perimenopause and oh my goodness.
Yeah. I
trying to get it. He's trying to stack it all.
peaks and valleys, but I wouldn't want it any other way.
Okay.
Because somebody has to do that and be that so that others don't have to go through what I did.
That's
That's a trooper.
that's a very what am I trying to say? That's a very universal awareness approach to things, because like if you think about if you're the kind of person who is like, well, the universe stays in balance, so if I'm doing it then someone else isn't, that's an amazing way to approach it, and kind of the way I approach it too.
Yeah, I've helped so many people over the years, and especially young women who are navigating through life and trying to build confidence and just know that there is hope. There was a young girl who has just like a completely different disability than I have. And she had seen a modeling picture that I did where I actually, for the first time, I showed my back and all my scars. And she had saw that picture, and she too has scoliosis and surgery, and she was all like late teens. She felt discouraged to show like wear what she wants to wear. She felt really uncomfortable with her body. And we connected, and her mom messaged me and said, you know what, we went shopping today, and for the first time she was looking at clothes that she never would have considered, and she calls me her spine sister now.
That's awesome.
And she's like, after talking to Victoria, I realized I shouldn't be ashamed of what my body looks like, and I can wear whatever I want to wear, and I'm going to do that. That is all I want to do. I want to empower other people so they don't have to go through the same crap I had to go through.
It's amazing.
And to me, I've repurposed it, and I really, truly think I was given this disability for a reason and a purpose in life. And it's my mission to change and just make life better for others.
More silly questions. Does it affect more women than men, more men than women, or is it just?
No, not necessarily. I've seen a good mix of both. I think where I've seen a difference is in coping with it.
Okay.
I think from what I've observed, I think men have a little bit of a harder time coping with the change in identity and diagnosis, right? Like I have a disability now, my body is going to change, I can't provide for the family like I used to, like that mentality I've seen. Where women, I think, can be maybe a little bit more proactive about their health just in general, that I've seen where they're like, okay, what do I have to do because I've got to do this and that. And I've seen the mental health aspect of it is really very different between the two groups.
It sounds really common with us. Sometimes men are in denial and they don't say anything.
Or they hide it, or they feel like they're a failure, or
yes.
Yeah, we talk a lot. We talk a lot about Terry and I talk a lot about the ego.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%, you nailed it there. Yeah, absolutely. We all have similarities, like between it all, I think more than we realize, between that, MD, CP, like all of it, right?
Yeah. So you did modeling for neurodiversity. You are in wheelchair. Do you even know how to play rugby before you joined that? Because I have no idea how to rugby. Do you know how to rugby?
I was like, okay, I was turning 40 while we were filming the show, and I had this challenge going on in my life aside of the show where I was like, I wanted to do, leading up to my 40th birthday, 40 new things before I turned 40.
Nice.
So I did like stuff here. I went to BC, like I went to my first rave with a disability. Like it was like I had this
awesome
kind of like midlife crisis thing. I stood on top of like the Sea to Sky gondola in BC, like looking over the ocean, like right on my 40th birthday. I did all kinds of weird stuff, but one of the guys here locally in the spinal cord injury community is like, hey, there's a lot of people that play rugby, wheelchair rugby, that have CMT, and they're doing it at like Paralympic level, which there is in Canada. A few of my brand members are in Ontario and do it, and he and his son do it. And they were like, you should give it a try. You should at least come check it out. And I was like, and they want to attract more women into the sport. So I was like, okay, I'm not a wheelchair user, but this will be another one off the list. So I went and I tried it. And there's another woman here on the team that has been playing it for a while. And she was like, you know what? She's like, from a woman to woman, it's a great way to get frustrations out. And especially on other guys in a safe way that you're supposed to and allowed to. She's like, just let it all out on the court.
That sounds violent.
Can be, but everyone's very gentle with me too. So they let me get away with whatever I need to. But I haven't, like I said, I haven't been back in a little while because I've got to nurse this injury and let it kind of heal. But I actually found it really therapeutic physically because it ended up correcting my posture a lot because I was wheeling and I don't usually wheel. The cardio from it was great and it drained me mentally. So I was like, and just like the group, the team, they're like, I hope they're watching because I love them all dearly. And I would show up with baked goods every week. So of course they would. That was how I buttered them up. I'm like, be gentle on me and I will bring you guys fresh cookies or brownies or whatever. So it was a great, it spearheaded me to get a lot healthier than I was at the time. So
that's amazing. We've been skirting the issue of community a little bit during the show here. So since you, like you stated, you were dropped on a desert island and now you have a community. Tell me how we've gone from one to the other. Was there a community that you didn't realize about, or did you have to build this thing up?
It happened very quickly in the last few years. So I did the show. I did the episode in Vegas, right? And I got to meet those women, which I still keep in touch with to this day. They still want me to come down and visit. And then I came back and I was like, I really like all of these centers and branches are all throughout the United States. Why don't we have them here? So I came back here, and Toronto did have a very small branch at the time, but they weren't really quite active very much. Okay. And I came back and I was like, we need something here in the West. So I had contacted the CMTA. So the CMT's kind of like main association is centered in the United States.
Okay.
So I came back, I reached out to them and I said, you know, this is my story. This is what I've been a part of. I want to have something open up here. And they're like, yeah, we'll support you 100%. Let's do it. And it started as just the Edmonton CMTA branch. Then it started to build and build. And then they were like, we would love you to come and do the keynote address at our global, which you guys probably watched already, our summit in Boston, where it was a mixture of hybrid and hybrid in person and virtual for all of the CMT community all over the world. That was my first speaking gig. I know you don't believe me, but it was. I was very nervous, but that opened up so much. That was the first time I was in a room with leading CMT researchers, clinicians from all over the world that flew in. Youth groups were there because they had a youth outing throughout Boston, and all the adults, families. That week changed me. And there was a physician there. I will never forget him. He's a big Oilers fan. So he was like, anytime you want to go to a game, I'll fly up. So, I have to reach out to him. He was like, I want to have a look at your legs. And he fitted me with really bulky, like orthotics at the time. And he was like, I really think you could benefit from these. Because when I went in with my scooter. I could walk independently on my own, but I was like really wobbly and there was a risk of me falling. And he was like, I really think you need AFOs. And I walked through the hotel with him because he videotaped it. And I came back And I was like, oh, I need these orthotics. I came back, I started the branch, things grew and grew and grew. And I don't know how it ended up, but like, I don't think really anybody has put CMT on a public platform, like pushed in.
Right.
And it spiraled from there. Last year, I think last April, I got to speak to the community in Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
Which was, the way that they look at navigating disability is so beautiful. I wish everybody could embrace them.
Okay. So those that never made it to Hawaii, how so? How do they do it different?
They lean on the fact that they're thankful they're alive. They love their families, their communities. They're like, you know what? We're grateful to be alive. We're gonna navigate through this, like just take it easy.
Different
And
mindset.
right. And I was
Wow.
like, they made me cry when I started talking to them.
Yeah.
And they and they're so spiritual and humble. Like, if I move anywhere, it's going to be out there. And they can navigate their disabilities differently because they've got the heat, they've got the water, the warmth. They're so active out there. So I got to speak to them. I got to talk to so many other communities. And then while I started the Edmonton branch, the Toronto branch leader said he was going on sabbatical for a year. So he was like, can you take over my stuff too? And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say no because the community needs somebody, but okay. So then I was the only one looking after all of Canada for a while.
Wow.
1 in 2,500.
Yeah.
It's a lot, right? So then that opened up. Then it became the Western Canadian branch because we recently have assigned somebody to look after the East. So she's just starting it up. And so that's grown. And then as of 2 weeks ago, I cried when this announcement came up because I prayed for this day. And I was like, if this happens in my lifetime, this was my goal. If this happened in Canada in my lifetime, I would be like, I could die tomorrow and I would be happy. I'd be honest with you both. Canada now, for the first time.
You're about to break news on here?
Yes.
Okay.
And they know I'm going to do it because they gave me like
Nice.
for it. Like, they're stoked for this. Canada
Right.
now, I have not talked to anybody else about this yet. I got goosebumps right now. Canada now, for the first time in CMTA's history, has a hospital, Toronto Sick Kids Hospital, their neurology department, which warms my heart because it's for the children, received a designation as Canada's first CMT Center of Excellence.
Yay. That's amazing. That is amazing.
Yes, it doesn't encompass adults yet. We're working on maybe trying to get some other hospital in Canada to do it, but to be able to have that for the children who are navigating it and the family.
That is unbelievable. That is unbelievable. There will now be an entire generation of little people with CMT growing up knowing that this is knowing what's wrong, dealing with it, having a community, being plugged in, and it won't, in a blink of an eye, they will be the next wave of adults saying, oh yeah, we've got this. That's amazing. Well done.
It's really, I advocated a lot for it, but the CMTA, like the board and everyone in the States, really did a lot of work to get this in place. And especially right now with all the political tension that's going on, I'm so shocked that it was able to come out the way that it was. When I talked to them, they were like, you know how hard it was to keep this secret from you for weeks? Because they know this is something I so desperately wanted here, but it's a neurologist who is directly linked with what's called the INF in the States, which is the Inherited Neuropathy Consortium, which does like the leading research for neuropathies and CMT. that neurologist is directly linked to research going on in there right now, which means maybe someday, if there's clinical trials now, maybe we can have them here without people having to leave.
That's amazing.
There's a OT team, PT, social worker, dietitian. Like, they're all within the one clinic for these families. Like,
That's amazing.
It's taken that serious now. Good.
And
Did they name a part of the hospital after you? Maybe you have like a plaque on the wall, something? Okay.
no, it warms my heart that change is finally happening, because I never thought it would happen in my lifetime. Considering I had a doctor tell me I would have to abort for science.
Right. Right. That's like, I still haven't even gotten over that.
Yeah.
But I think the greatest thing that the hospital brings to the table now is hope.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
And I've heard from other families who have already been through this clinic that if they've got adult family members who are exhibiting symptoms, this doctor can easily refer them to somebody who can.
Right.
So it's
right. It's just going to grow and balloon and keep going. And you were, how do I say this spiritually? You were the pebble in the pond. Now all the ripples are going out because of you being alone on the island. And now you plunged in and it's just waving out. This is amazing.
And I'm not done, because now I'm like, I had a meeting.
Now you're motivated.
We need an adult one now. We need one in the West. Like, I'm approaching doctors, hospitals here. I'm like, come on, like, there's no excuse for it not to be here.
Sure.
I know. It's like I sit and I think about it and I'm like, wow, I never thought I would ever see this stuff happening in my lifetime. So
yeah, that's the thing. When your goals become reality, now you're like, what do I do now? Now we got to take it one step up. Let's keep going.
I know.
That's amazing. That's a great problem to have, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you go next, right? But that's where I'm like, that's where I described earlier, where I focus on what I'm passionate about and my purpose and what I love to do, because this stuff, holy man, does it fuel me. And it's like, this is why I was born with what I have, because children don't have to navigate it the same way I do.
Mm-hmm.
Not anymore.
I think you've succeeded your goals, because I know that 2 or 3 years ago, you had a goal to create a true presence, right, of support for CMT in Canada. Done.
And it's wild. It hasn't even just been like in Canada. Like, every time I have meetings with the CMTA, they're like, you had such a big part to play in it, your advocacy, the fact that you are so open with sharing your life online and showing what you're going through, navigating, learning how to walk with your AFOs, like everything. They're like, I even heard the poetry is being shared like all throughout the United States, Australia. Like, I never thought any of it would be like this. I never really realized that the need is there, that people are, and not just from CMT, I've heard from children with CP. I've heard from all kinds of different disabilities. It's wild.
Yeah, the community is huge and they're here to help. So what's the message you have for your community and those who are struggling with maybe a new diagnosis of CMT?
Lean into it. I've been using that actually quite a bit lately. because I think when I chose to lean into the difficultness of it that comes with every aspect of your life, lean into the goods, the highs, the lows, the peaks, you become more centered and grounded and okay navigating through life. And I think if you find purpose through the pain, you actually will end up feeling better. And when you see how many lives you impact and the change you can make, it becomes infectious.
Yes, it does. And you just need to change one person's life. And that's enough.
What an unbelievable story. Terry said, well, first of all, Terry didn't tell me much because I didn't want to know. I wanted to hear it fresh. And he definitely delivered. What an amazing story. Unbelievable that you've come from this young person who's getting they're taking care of their toes to now you're taking care of a community of people. It's just holy moly.
And in such a short period of time, like, it's a little scary to me because I'm like, if this happened within the last 5 years, what's the next 5 years gonna be
Yeah, exactly. It's
Up
just
and up and
beginning.
up.
Yeah.
like? Yeah, it's wild, but I'm just, the time is now and it is needed. And I see the fire in everybody now that's coming forward. And I'm like, yep, let's keep going. Let's keep building on it.
Well, thank you
I
for
will
taking the time to hang out with us today and share your story. Thank you for breaking such huge news with us. Like, we are so grateful for that. Keep that infectious positivity and keep those fires lit so that community grows beyond even your wildest imaginations. We wish you all the best. Truly
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. And if any other doctors out there, neurologists, want to open another one, let me know, because we're looking for you.
There you go.
Yo, you're so cool. Thanks for being here. Honestly.
No,
This is great.
anytime. Anytime, you know me. I will.
We
anytime.
definitely want updates, and we definitely want to keep in touch, and we definitely want to share in all of your victories with you.
Oh, of course. We're like family from like we're distant relatives from
We're
some.
like
Dude,
we're
I
like
get it.
we're cousins. We're
We're the
cousins in the
same.
There we
community.
go. Yes, it's somewhere down the line, I swear. So
I might upset Jesse when I say this. Sorry, bro. Argos. Okay, let's move on.
I wonder if he does like her. We'll see what he says when he receives it.
I used to go to Argo games all the time. All the time. So when
He's
I
a
heard he was
huge
in Edmonton,
fan, man. You saw his bedroom? He's got like,
you-
I have never seen a guy that's like crazy sports buff like him. And like playoff season, he's very superstitious. There's like, it's like I say it like, you know, when the wives have like husbands that go hunting and they're like, yeah, I'm single for the month because he goes hunting. Playoff season, I'm like, yeah, don't bother him. So yeah.
it's funny because I always laugh that I'm gonna say this on here. I'm the female in this relationship because she's like a hockey. You don't talk to me when I'm watching hockey, and I'm like, okay, all right. I'm not the sport person.
I'm into it too, but it's got to be like into the playoffs, and then that's when I get my
Me
attention
too.
to it.
Yeah, me
So
too.
otherwise, I'm like, I'm too busy. I am way too busy.
That's good.
Yeah.
Till we talk soon.
Yes. Thank you guys. Bless you guys. Thank you guys again. So,
Our pleasure, believe me.
yeah.
Brother, I'll talk to you soon, my friend.
I'll talk to you soon, man. So check us out at 40belowzero.com. That's 4T belowzero.com. Or feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Our email address is info@40belowzero.com. Our personal Instagram account are, for Nix, it's Nix_V713. Or for Terry, it's What's_MS. Awesome. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. We'll talk soon.